Good evening, RPG Limit Break and Free Enterprise community, to this Game 2 of the Blue Moon Waxing Bracket Finals here in Zemus Zone 5 between Funnelcakes and Kyrios. Kyrios currently up 1-0 in the series. Joining me on the Restream team today for this wonderful journey that we're all about to undertake is Alyssa on the Restream itself, Fiery Blizzard on the tracking, and my co-commentator Oscar today. How you doing?
I'm confused. I'm on the microphone. Send help. How about you?
Yeah, same. Honestly, it's been a while. It's been like a couple weeks since I was last on commentary. I'm really excited for this race. This is between two extremely talented runners who have had very different and very interesting paths through this tournament. Kyrios, you may remember if you've been here since the start of the tournament, was one of the four matches, one of the 8 runners who sort of had that little play-in week at the very, very start of the tournament, just because we had a few too many for a clean round of 64 right at the start. So he's had the extra match to get here. Funnelcakes, on the other hand, did not have that, but every single person that Funnelcakes has faced on the way here is still alive down in the waiting bracket as well. So he's had a very difficult journey in getting here, but both of our runners are here, ready to go. I'm really excited to see this, especially with this edge start, which is going to give them a lot of power right at the start.
Yeah, and looking at some of the boss that we have to fight today, we have your standard traditional football gauntlet Golbez, but we have everything from the really super free King Queen Eblen to the not always the super freest of free Evil Wall. So it's nice. It's a nice blend there. So I'm curious to see where all these bosses are going to be showing up.
I think the usual dream for, the viewing perspective in this is you hope you see like officers right at the start. You hope you see Bahamut, King and Queen Evelyn right at the start. And you hope that Evil Wall and Magus Sisters are at like
Giant
and the Masamune altar down at the bottom of the moon. That's my favorite Magus Sister spot. It is not fun for the runners, but very fun to watch. So hopefully our runners will get a chance to show off skills like that for our sake, and I guess it's fitting for a finals match too.
Agreed. Yeah, we've got the Zemus Zone 5 is very interesting in the fact that we are going to have not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 actual tournament champions, and this match could actually determine one of them tonight. But speaking of determining what we've got going on here, we're continuing the Eiffel 50. We are really continuing the Eiffel 55 trend of Edge to Cane, and lo and behold, we have one of our required bosses in Baron 1 in the form of King and Queen Eblen. So yeah, plus that Gungnir Spear. We have 2 really strong characters right now.
I think a good way of looking at Blue Moon versus Red Moon is sort of a low power puzzle oriented thing, and Blue Moon is a very high power oriented thing, sort of like the differences between, say, Zemus Zone 5 or 4 last year and Adamant Cup in spring. And so seeing that Gungnir right at the start with the Edge Cane start, like this is what Blue Moon was designed to be, in my opinion, and I'm really, really excited to see that right out of the gate.
Yeah, I'm actually really excited, just like you said, to see just how much power. Let's see if we can find some crystal swords if we have a Cecil, but for now we do have a Tella, and then Tella's friendo is it is a punch mage, so a sage mage and a punch mage. It's okay.
I'd love to see a curveball where we have, all these high-powered characters. You have your Edge, you have your Kane, you have your Tella, who can be really high power in utility. Say we see like the Cecil, something like that. I'd like to see that with no white mages in the seat. That hope is still alive.
100%. And for those going, but Tella can do white magic stuff. Tella has what's called a very limited HP or MP pool, so you only get so much out of that old man. He's taking it easy. He's relaxing. Unless you give him like a Soma drop, then he can do Medio, and that's about it.
Sometimes the one Medio is all you need. There is that Cecil that you were hoping for right here in this watery pass check right at the start. This is a very, very high-powered setup to just go berserkers through this, which again, typical Blue Moon seed, in my opinion, is very berserker heavy, and this is going to be what looks to be a pretty good example of that so far.
That nice ribbon. That also the combination of Tella and Cecil in the party is now most likely screaming to our runners to go to Mount Ordeals, because at that point Tella will have access to all of his spells, and then Cecil will go from really cool, awesome, broody Black Knight Cecil, Dark Knight Cecil to really awesome, cool, like K-pop star paladin Cecil things, but be also really powerful in his own right.
Absolutely. It's going to be really interesting to see when our runners pull the trigger on Mount Ordeals. Of course, it's also the 3 different boss checks as well, which can come in very valuable. Kyrios, meanwhile, our first bit of divergence, going over to see what Bedward has here in Troya. Well, Funnelcakes, about to see what is up here. That's a cabin.
I love the cabin key item. That's like my favorite thing to drop. Oh man.
You know, just up here recovering in bed in Troya, and you know, have an entire house. I just happen to have one with me today.
Yeah, it's like I'm good in my bed. You might need this more than I will. That's okay. Funnelcakes is showing us who is in. Hey, hey, hi friend. Can we get a spoon, please? So you can hear me pop off in the comms booth.
I mean, it's still a possibility at the moment. We kind of only have the 5 different Berserker candidates and Tella. And if you have a spoon, I feel like that Edward's going to do a lot more than that Yang might. So that's still on the table, actually, at this point, to me.
Agreed. And with Yang specifically, he is very good as a slingshot target. His stats are kind of early on, but you get levels in that Punch Mage's belly, and he turns into pretty much Final Fantasy IV Wolverine, like Deadpool 3 version of Wolverine.
Exactly, including the healing factor thing, because if we don't have a white mage, we're going to need probably a good chemist to get through that sea fight. Yang, with his really large HP pool that he can get, very good candidate for being that chemist late. Possibly Edge could as well, too, if he's just darting instead of being berserked and you're berserking the Yang. But it's something that can get you around that problem of not having a white mage on the table so far.
Agreed. And with that white mage, we've seen every single spot except one right now. We still haven't seen the Mount Ordeals free character. For those just tuning in to the tournament, hi, welcome to Zemus 5. But we're featuring the See No Earned flag, meaning the only characters that you get in this entire seed are the free characters. So you get 7 to choose from. And Kyrios will be showing us that last mystery character in the very near future, and I hope it is a Sid. Personally,
A Sid would be good. Possibly just a mage. Hey, it's a Sid. We did it.
Yay! We did it, Reddit. So yeah, now this is going to be very, very interesting for our runners, because our quote-unquote white mage is Tella. That limits a lot of healing options.
Yeah, we have no strong white mage. We only have one source of berserk as well for this very berserk heavy party. So finding those Bacchus wines is going to be a lot more important now, so you can actually get your party rolling, because telecasting berserk once a turn is going to be very slow in terms of setting up. And yeah, I mean, this is very interesting because late game, unless you get to hyper late game Zeromus fights, without a white mage, those get really spicy really fast, as we're finding Odin here in this first boss spot here on Mount Ordeals.
And the lack of like true white mage healing is it's going to turn a lot of fights that would be normally free to a bit of a kind of a damage check real fast. So yeah, I'm curious to see what we're going to come up with. Odin, it shouldn't be too much of an issue potentially. That edge in the center is a double longsword edge. 500 a turn, should be able to get through it. ... question mark.
It's looking that way. Hasn't raised the sword yet. I think we're pretty easily through this at this point. This last swing might even do it here. Nope, maybe one more.
It seems kind of interestingly counterintuitive for those that aren't really experienced in free enterprise the thought of, well, you have 5 players, but only Edge is actually doing stuff until Tell decided to lit one at the very end. The way that our runners have it set up is that Edge is in the center, and that is the essentially agility drum major of sorts. Sad panda. So basically they've made Edge super fast. He's gonna take a lot of turns. Well, he's the strongest geared character, so you get a lot of turns with Edge. You don't really need your other characters to do stuff except just sit there and look pretty.
It is interesting, though, seeing the sort of divergence in strategy. I think Funnelcakes might have actually gotten through that fight a bit faster, had a stack of 10 Thor Rages he was sitting on, and just kept throwing them with all of his characters, and just really got through that Odin very fast. Odin, in Final Fantasy IV, of course, weak to lightning for reasons of you would probably expect someone holding a large sword in the air to be weak to a lightning strike. But, yeah, I think he's caught up a little bit of time there.
Oh, absolutely. And the thing is, with finding words just failed me. A blue robe here in Mounter Deals 2 is that the next blue robe our runners see is going to be the old Gauntlet, and that is going to be a required boss. Hopefully. We only have to do 7 of the 8, so who knows? The Gauntlet might be out for the day. I know none of us hope for that, but sadder things have happened.
Definitely, I think at this point, only the guard sprite is the last real big question of information that will be useful in terms of finishing these objectives. There's no moon bosses in these objectives, so you know if you see a sparkle, it's technically optional depending on what key item it might have, but not anything that you're needing to actually get those objectives done. So once we see that other guard sprite too, our runners will know exactly what every boss that they need to find is the second they see it on the map.
Like this one, we have found a required boss at Mounter Deals with the form of Ashura. 1000 HP should be pretty easily taken care of with our characters. Getting the Luca key from Mounter Deals on Blue Moon specifically is a pretty spicy key. The warp glitch is on, so they can get the key item in the sealed cave without having to go through Luca. However, that is a boss check. So it's one of those weigh your options. Do you warp glitch and hope that that's not a boss you need, or do you just kind of cut your losses and check the boss and the key item at the same time? So we'll see what our runners do.
It's one of the ones I've liked seeing in these Blue Moon seeds because it's been such a sort of divergent point in terms of strategies between runners. I see so many of them just completely ignore the Luca key, and just as many of them think, all right, I need to check this because my opponent's not going to. So that's one of those little things that could really determine the race later on. It doesn't help us now, but it's something to definitely look out for once we get down that hook route.
And yeah, so I'm also kind of surprised we haven't checked any of the 2 quote unquote free spots, being the Mist Cave and then the Waterfall. 2 fairly simple spots to go after, very low HP locations that we could find some free bosses. So we'll see where Kyrios goes after that, if he continues to hunt for key items or says, you know what, let's just do some boss face checks and go from there.
Definitely. I gotta think that there's probably going to be a leaning towards the key item checks. I know that there's sort of been 2 different schools of thought about those sort of easy checks, as you're noting. Is that the first is get them out of the way early, just so that you are sure that you've seen them, that you don't have to worry about them later. And the second is try to route them in later to do your best. And it looks like Kyrios is going to take option number 3 and is going to head over here to Castle Eblen to try and maybe find that crystal sword you mentioned earlier.
Yeah, Castle with its 3 trap chests, having Tella around and now with the full access to spells, does give some potential for, again, pulling a tier 7 or tier 8 item out of these treasure chests or trap chests. And by tier 7 or tier 8, I mean essentially a shiny beat stick for our Cecil now. Because right now I've seen, I think, an axe or something that Cecil can use, and that's about it. Not much that sparks joy.
Yeah, I think it was a rune axe, which could come in handy. We got a lot of bosses that could be weak to that. These Mad Ogres are weak to it as well. Because as you can tell from their appearance, these are mages.
Yeah, it makes it looks totally makes sense. Words. Are we gonna hit the stone? We are. Nicely done.
One thing that is worth noting that's quite interesting too, Kyrios getting the experience out of this, Funnelcakes popped a siren on top of Mount Ordeals before coming over here to this treasure chest, only a white shirt from that particular chest, but Funnelcakes deciding to get that slingshot out of the way on Cecil even quicker, get him online so that he can contribute more to these fights. We're also seeing a white spear and non-trap chest on Kyrios' side though, so pretty good loot so far.
Yeah, Kane is deciding to betray Cecil in terms of doing damage, Cecil and Edge for that matter. So, hi Zeus Gauntlet. Yeah, there's going to be some happy berserkers there. But yeah, what you're saying with Funnelcakes, with that particular siren, that's essentially... Ooh, is that a light switch? Sorry to completely derail my thought there. Oh, light staff. The particular spot that Funnelcakes did that siren on is technically the most experience points you can get in a non-trap chest on the overworld, so definitely going for a little bit of survivability before Funnel starts tackling these trap chests. So good for him.
Yeah, we'll see if that ends up paying off in terms of the long run. It does cost a bit of time. That is a crystal knot sword, which, you know, crystal anything is nice at this point in time, but not quite what we're looking for over on Kyrios' side. So we're through 2 trap chests and we have not really struck gold yet. Stardust Rod is pretty good though.
That cat claw is interesting for both Yang and Edge. It's a nice little agility boost, but right now Castle's got jokes and I'm kind of here for it.
I love these castles that are sort of like everything good is in the untrapped chests, and you get through the trap chests and it's just all mild disappointment. Not complete disappointment, just a little bit of disappointment. But you could have come here at any point and gotten about the same result. And Ninja Hat is all right. Still not a lot that we're really seeing on Kyrios' side. We're almost to the end though.
That Earth Hammer is a nice pickup for Sid, but yeah, it's all right. Literal last chest. Let's see what we got.
It's kind of interesting seeing that Earth Hammer. One thing worth noting about that is that Sid can use that Earth Hammer as an item in combat in order to cast Quake. It won't be as strong as Quake off of a mage, but it could be very useful if we hit a Gauntlet at the wrong time. And, you know, if there's one thing that this party is lacking outside of that Edge, it's good, strong kind of wave clear like that. So it will be pretty good to have that in the back pocket as well.
The concept of stone working on a stone monster fascinates me. Oh, well, you know what time it is? It is time to eat a crystal sword, but that's just me.
I mean, it is possible. Do we know if our runners maybe just happen to have an agreement to never use the crystal sword? Because that could be a thing. No, I don't think it is. But that has made all of this early game basically, I don't want to say entirely free, but we're good. There's nothing that's really going to pose a giant threat unless we just happen to hit it in exactly the wrong way. So our runners are very well set up at this point. And again, this is sort of that typical Blue Moon Seed is what do you do when you are given all of these resources right at the start and have to just figure out how you can best use them to get through the seed as fast as possible.
What would be incredibly spicy, because I enjoy choosing violence with seeds, is who is strong against Holy? Demist? A Demist at like Baron in 2. I'm not sure if Pale Dim's weak or strong against Holy as well, but something that just looks at that crystal sword. I know, Freya. So somebody that looks at crystal sword and goes, that's cute.
We need the like Demist Octomam hook route here.
Oh yes, please. I would almost go Octo into Demist just because that first spot is so like heckin' fast, and Octo does start with some pretty speedy stats, and then Demist is just rude.
Definitely. Here's the big question though, to me, that I think is interesting, as we just casually find another cat claw in the one chest that you open in Antlion Cave every time because it's right there. If you're this set up and you find that hook, do you even keep checking at this point, or do you just head straight underground and open up the world? And especially, fading Fabul might be a good option right now, where you can sort of bundle that together. It's sort of, that's the big question to me at the moment.
I would almost want to peek at a minimum. I'd maybe save Scum outside of the Eblen caves, because you do unlock a gated series of shops, so you're going to get slightly better gear potential or items and whatnot. That's a sad ruby, so that's a zonk of sorts. But I would want to know, because I mean, if it's a free hook route, then you can open up the underground so much quicker. Whereas if you see like a Sparkle or you see Kanatso, it's like, maybe those other checks on the overworld look really good right now.
Definitely. I think that's kind of been, to me, one of the big themes of this tournament is when do you sort of pull the trigger on going down that hook route. For those who haven't seen much of Zemus Zone 5, both sides, this is using the relatively new force hook flag, which means that the underground access for both of our runners is guaranteed to be going down that hook route. There's no risk of a magma key anywhere before we've seen underground access. So because of that, that means that once we see the hook, we know that we can get underground. That's our only way. And that sort of creates a different sort of strategy as opposed to the other way around, where it used to be a bit more, well, maybe I'll just keep hunting for a magma key for a bit.
Also, the obligatory shout out to the vanilla recovery words. The vanilla find of Octo in Octo's spot. Meanwhile, it looks like we're going to be getting some Shirley Temple with Baron in. We have Kalbrena, which is going to be a pretty single flame, simple fight. We'll see who's in spot 2, though.
Speaking of mostly free boss fights, Kyrios checking the Mist Cave, finding the Dark Imps. That's another one that's, I mean, I guess as a runner, you kind of hope it's later. So that way you can just throw an Hourglass if you have it, make it completely free and, not worry about it. But that's in one of the easiest spots, so we haven't really seen many of the difficult bosses, except this Kainatsu here.
Yeah, that's a cute turtle. Especially with Artella down. That's kind of a cute turtle. That being said, Cecil really wants to dine on turtle soup today. So that turtle doesn't exist anymore.
It's always kind of interesting when you see the Kainatsu and you sort of go, uh-oh, this could be a problem, and then he doesn't even get a turn before the fight's over.
Ooh.
That is our hook. That is our underground access. That is the big question. Do you fade Fabul and just head straight underground? And both our runners getting ready to answer that now.
I would, at this point, I probably would fade. The allure of a pan underground is very tempting. But who knows? I mean, the thing is, with outside of Zemus Zone 5, all the previous tournaments and whatnot were recent years have been objective based. So key items are king. Here, bosses don't care about your key items. Bosses don't care about your percentage checks and logic. They just go where they want to go. So, for all we know, yeah, that simple Fabul fight could have one of our remaining bosses. So, yeah, I don't know. It's a tough call.
I think it's a question of, do you want to know everything you possibly can beforehand? Do you want to hope to maybe strike one of those boss gating key items before you get there? Say you hit a tower key before you go underground, it could be useful. Say you hit a twin harp or an earth crystal and you're tempted to check those before heading underground. Say you hit that Baron key and you know that you have a boss. There is still that opportunity too, and it looks like Kyrios is going to be heading over and just going down the hook route. Nope. Maybe just going to drop the hovercraft and head back up to Fabul.
There's another very, very, very spicy find that could happen. Given our party, what if Fabul has the darkness crystal? It leads to a thing that I pretend doesn't exist. It's called grinding for levels. But that darkness crystal with Atella means the seed is entirely your oyster at that point in time.
That's a very interesting possibility. I kind of feel that with this party in particular, we don't get enough benefit out of a bunch of levels to really want to level grind too much. It's kind of the thing is, you know, there's that sort of difference between berserkers gain power through items, mages gain power through levels. This seed does not have mages at all, really, unless you count Yang, who gains power through levels in that way. But I would be very tempted to not grind, even if I found a darkness crystal right away, and just see how far I can get without really devoting that extra time to it. Only grind when necessary. Maybe just pop those sirens once I'm underground, and that's about it.
I mean, we totally have mages. We have Tella the Sage Mage. We have Sid the Chemist Mage. We have Cecil the Burr Mage. We have Kane the Rage Mage. We have the Punch Mage and Yang. We've got Edge the Edge Mage. Tons of mages or something. Help me out, Chuck.
It's fine. Mages are casting their favorite mage spell in this particular seed, Knife. And, you know, that's going to get us through this at this point. We did find sirens here in the Cave Eblen shop, not Castle Eblen shop. There are no shops in Castle Eblen. That is all grind taken care of. That darkness crystal is less appetizing for now in terms of just, you know, gating bosses. That's Dark Knight Cecil on the hook route. That's potentially spicy.
That's cute. I'm here for it. So here's the thing, chat. You survived 3 dark waves from that Dark Knight Cecil, and you're through the fight. Here's the problem. Those waves are gonna hurt. They're gonna hurt a lot. And I'm not sure if our characters have the HP to survive that.
You know what we do have, as was just pointed out in chat, we have access to an Edward.
Okay, let me tell you, friendos, about the best character in the game that is called Edward. Edward has a very broken ability called Hide. He is the hide and seek champion of the world, and he sees that DKC put him in like the second spot, aka where Cecil is on Kyrios' screen, and you use the hide command. Eddie goes, "Nope, I'm out." Hides off screen because the universe stops once you get off screen, and DKC can just destroy the party. But because Eddie has survived off screen, you get through the fight. So it is a free fight if they're willing to embrace the best character in their hearts.
But that does lead to the biggest question, which is that if you go back, you take the Edward, you invest all that time in order to get there, who is Dark Knight Cecil talking to when he gives his speech afterwards?
I would say... That's a good question. Extra in Cafe number 5.
That is possible, you know, you just have your monologue afterwards. It could also, I suppose, be a monologue at Dark Knight Cecil. As point out, there's an evil wall. That's spicy.
So, fam, let me tell you about the best character in the game, Edward, and his broken ability called Hide.
Do tell.
So, this is a very fast spot with a very spicy evil. It's not going to do anything because unfortunately Cecil's too strong. But, so, if they didn't have a Crystal Sword Cecil, Eddie can hide. And once Evil Wall kills the other 4 players, or other 4 party members, Evil Wall is like, I need to hit something. I'm gonna hit myself. And proceeds to beat itself up to a pulp. In some spots, Evil Wall can in fact defeat itself. So, if you didn't have that Crystal Sword Cecil, Eddie could just hide off screen, have like a Thai tea or something, and kick back like Fu on vacation did a few tournaments ago, and win a fight for you or two.
Kyrios is not saving. Kyrios has confidence in this Dark Knight Cecil fight, heading straight into it right now. Has that Cecil in the second spot. I think that this should be all right. We'll see.
Oh,
Yes,
yeah,
Cecil's
that's
going to be
fine.
fine.
Unfortunately. No, it's... Yeah, no, that's fine. We're good. We're going to talk about Justice soon enough.
Yes, unfortunately, Funnelcakes taking a wipe first time through on this evil wall. This evil wall is pretty... I don't want to say easy to get through. There's an easy way to get through it, as we saw on Kyrios' side. We have to be sort of prepared for it in a way. If you're not set up right and that Cecil goes down too quickly, it's pretty much unfixable at that point in time. But we'll see Funnelcakes on attempt 2 as Kyrios now through the hook route before the half-hour mark, getting through that pitfall.
That's a very, very speedy time for any kind of hook route, so GG's to Kyrios on that. But in this little interim, I will say to those of you in chat, you're watching the two remaining people in Bloom and Waxing. This is the finals for Bloom and Waxing. And you might ask yourself, how did I get here? But you might also ask yourself, how do I get involved? I've never played before, but this looks like a whole lot of fun. And there's an end to the story. Basically, first off, join the Discord. Why haven't you joined the Discord yet? It's fantastic. Some great heckin' people, some really smart people like Nth. They are super, super smart. And LSL, which is she's super, super smart and super good. Fire Blizzard, super smart, super good as well. But we also have a community club that goes when the tournament's done for the tournament season, called Pink Puff League. And the Pink Puff League is specifically designed for new and inexperienced runners to kind of teach them the ropes of free enterprise. And you can meet a whole bunch of really good racers, get some really good information for them, and become super awesome yourself. And the reason I bring this up is we've had 3 seasons of the PPL. The Red Moon Waxing tournament that has ended was won by a former Pink Puff that started in season 1. Funnelcakes and Kyrios are Pink Puff alum. And they are going to, one of these two wonderful people are going to win a tournament. So it's a great way to learn free enterprise as demonstrated by these amazing people. And there is a potential for a third Pink Puff alum to win the Blue Moon Waning tournament. So there are some heckin' good people that you can, we a lot of us have watched from the ground up become tournament champions in their own right. So if you're interested, join the Discord. When the tournaments are done, community clubs start up again. Check out the Pink Puff League, and you too can be a tournament champion as well.
Absolutely. And speaking of how close this race is for this sort of second champion that we're going to be crowning out of 4 over the course of Zemus Zone 5, that was about a minute and a half of difference between these two runners getting through that hook route at this point in time. This is a very, very close race, but also worth noting, top of Lower Babel, there's that Golbez. Kyrios going over to grind. Funnelcakes. Will Funnelcakes go over to grind as well, or will Funnelcakes just land and immediately go back for that Golbez? He's going for the Golbez right now.
Yeah, I mean, with the Tele, you can set up for Golbez using Piggy and Mini strats, and then it's just a matter of getting a Star Veil up in time. So you're kind of rolling the dice, but it's possible. I'm low-key intrigued by Kyrios using Yang as the anchor right now. I'd like to pick his brain as to why that is maybe a potential slingshot in the future, and then to kind of shift gears into Tele anchor. I'm not sure, but it's not often we see a punch mage being a floor mage, that's for sure.
If I had to guess, I would say the most likely situation is a later Yang slingshot into a Sid anchor. and not wanting Sid to get too many levels if we happen to find a cursed ring along the way. That would be my guess at this point, but I look at this party and I think I'm not tempted to do a strategy that's going to slingshot that heavily. I'm tempted to lean on those sirens that I got for any levels that I might need along the way. So that's a really interesting question here. Also worth noting over on Funnelcakes' side, Funnelcakes only had 2 characters still alive, that Sid and Cecil, coming out of the hook route. Used a tent, which does not revive party members, to have only those 2 alive. So not even needing to set up those pig or mini strats, just going in with 2 characters, and those are the 2 characters you get.
Yeah, that is honestly incredibly brilliant. So yeah, GG's on that one, Funnelcakes. It's one of those things that you definitely it's easy to forget. You're like, oh wait, no, I was already set to go. Huh. So that is very heads up, high level play right there. Kyrios, we just saw picked up, I believe, coffins in the shop. There was a cartographic technician, something was the job dwarf. Meh, not important. More importantly, we are getting a dwarf castle check, which is 2 bosses at a minimum, and of course the potential warp glitch. So we're curious to see what happens here.
It is very interesting. I mean, we'll see who the first boss is pretty quickly here, no matter what. We have not seen the second boss because we have not been up to the top of Tower of Zot, so this is pretty uncharted territory at this point in time. Gonna get this out of the way. I really like this sort of divergence that we're seeing right now. I think this Golbez play is really smart. This virus is not going to hit very hard. This bot does have a lot of HP, but Cecil does not care about having a lot of HP by virtue of getting rid of a lot of HP every turn. So we'll see which one pays out here, because this is the key item density check versus the guaranteed to be a boss you need check.
As Kyrios has shown us, it is a sparkle, so it's not a required boss. Now, if this is like Ogopogo, that's going to be kind of a spicy one. This is a surprisingly rude spot for our wonderful Canadian nope rope. But instead, it's just a pair of lunars. So, meh. There's one specific sword that looks at the D lunars and goes, "That's cute." Which sword would that be? It would be a crystal sword. Yeah, to our wonderful restreamer chat, what are D lunars weak to? Violence, apparently. Crystalline violence.
You ever see quad 9s in Dwarf Castle in any of your vanilla playthroughs of this game? These are sort of moments that you can only hit through the video game Final Fantasy IV Free Enterprise Randomizer. And yeah, those D-Lunars did not stand a shred of a chance. They're basically knocked out in 2 very quick swings. And we're going to see what is at spot number 2. Is this going to be a hit for the bosses? Nope, it is Dr. Dialogue.
Would you say that Cecil had a bone to pick with the lunars?
Possibly. I mean, that is definitely one way of looking at it. I mean, really... Wait a second, I see what you...
I am playing the role of Baka Shinobi today. Don't mind me.
I'm playing the role of the parade professionals from that one episode of Frasier with the Christmas parade. That's good banter.
It's like you are the I'm not mad, I'm just disappointed parent right now.
Exactly. So Funnelcakes heading down to prep Sheila 1 down here in Sylph Cave, which is interesting to me because... Oh, got the pan from the top of tower. I did not even notice that. Well then, never mind. I was about to say why that's interesting, and now I understand why it's happening.
Yeah, that pan flew right over all of our heads on that one.
Which is really impressive, because that pan seems to be quite heavy.
Well, we definitely think, pretty sure Funnelcakes will be checking out the single dip for wool in the very near future. Meanwhile, Kyrios is going to be showing us the dwarf castle. Hey! It's a twin harp! And... Ooh!
Oh, that dwarf
Ooh.
castle is hugely valuable. That is a boss that we need in King and Queen Eblen, and 3 more that we have not seen that we now have access to. Getting back above ground, looking like a pretty interesting possibility at this point in time early. It'll be interesting to see what Kyrios does. If Kyrios does not head up that tower and get rid of that Golbez and get that pan, then this is going to be the sort of battle between the key items out of Dwarf Castle and the what does the pan give sort of question here.
Now, here's the thing. Did Funnelcakes check Feymarch?
No, Funnelcakes got the pan and immediately headed down Sylph Cave and right back above ground to do these bull checks. So still has not checked Feymarch, still has not checked Dwarf Castle, still has basically everything Kyrios is doing right now.
And
These
this could
runners
be
could not have
interesting if
taken
it's
different
like
directions.
okay, it's just a cough. I was about to say if that particular chest was like tower key or something, that would have been very interesting. But ooh, we have Bacchus though. That is a Zerker party's dream item right there.
We kind of need that line at this point, I think.
Yeah. Tella is kind of just going, thank you. Just one less thing for our wonderful Sage Mage to deal with. Meanwhile, Funnelcakes is showing us the Earth Crystal, so that opens up 2 more bosses right there. Kyrios to be showing us the Feymarch bosses. Now we get to find out if this is potentially a Feymarch or a Fade March, depending on who is there.
This is really interesting for what Kyrios decides to do here, because if Kyrios does head up that tower and get that Golbez out of the way, get that pan, Kyrios now has every single boss check available on the overworld except for the package, but Funnelcakes hitting the Darkness Crystal. What do you do here when you're this strong and you just unlocked another 6 boss checks?
I'd be honest, the Baron key would be weighing a little heavy on me since I know what that is right there, but I mean, there's so many bosses available on the Darkness, or on the Darkness, on the Moon, in the Giant. Earth Crystal has 2 pretty easy ones. Is 1 and 2 unknowns worth fading for the veritable collection of bosses that we have elsewhere? And it looks like Funnelcakes is saying yes, it is. Meanwhile, Kyrios will be getting that pan as well in the very near future, so that'll be interesting to see. And also point out the Sheila 1 check was actually the pass, so we had both our... Apparently Sheila was holding all the Z access today, so that's a thing.
This is such a fascinating game state to be in, because Kyrios is going to have access to everything for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
Kyrios is going to get that pan, Kyrios is going to know to go down Sylph Cave, going to know to go check Sheila, get that pass, get that Darkness Crystal, have the Earth Crystal. The question is, which ones of these actually gate something that we need? We know that Baron Key gating 1 boss. We don't know if the other 2 spots in Baron Castle or Twin Harp have another one of those bosses. If they do, then Funnelcakes is required to at some point in time go back to Dwarf Castle. If not, I mean, he's going to be happy to see these Vanilla Magus sisters here, one of our required bosses.
This is getting spicier and spicier, especially if that Zot 2 check also happens to be required. That Earth Crystal is taking super, super high priority now.
The routing, smoothness for Kyrios is going to come in handy too, because Kyrios will be able to do that sort of dream overworld loop of Twin Harp into Earth Crystal into Baron Castle, where you just go to Twin Harp, put yourself back at Troya, go up to Tower Azat, which puts you back at Baron, saves a lot of flying along the way. Funnelcakes is going to need to do a lot of crisscrossing when he gets back above, so basically, as long as one of these bosses in Twin Heart or Baron Castle hits, Kyrios has a pretty sizable, not unbeatable advantage, but a very large advantage right at the start here.
And that's going to be a problem for Funnelcakes, especially with that Darkness Crystal. If you play by the percentages, there are more checks on the Moon and in the Giant than there are in Dwarf Castle. So to have access to so much more with this party, Funnelcakes might be more inclined to fade Dwarf Castle. So yeah, if that turns out to be a mega check, then that could be a big issue.
Now, the flip side of this, of course, is if those two spots are haunted, basically, well, sort of 3 boss spots are haunted, we know that there will be at least some value out of Baron Castle. But if Funnelcakes can make up that value elsewhere, Funnelcakes is going to have the advantage of not going through all those checks. Twin Heart, pretty long check. Baron Castle, pretty long check, all things considered. Bahamut, something Funnelcakes needs and wants to see. That is boss number 5.
And that makes Earth Crystal hard required. You can't skip 2 bosses, so that is massive for Funnelcake. So yeah, that also puts some more impetus on, I think, taking Darkness Crystal, since you know King Queen is in Baron, but that's just 1 boss. You can get away with fading 1 boss right now. So maybe he might say, let's see if the moon has Baron Key, and go from there. It'll be very interesting to see how these routes are very likely going to diverge in the near future.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, if I'm in Funnelcake's shoes, I'm thinking I've got 5 bosses. I've got access to another 8 of them through the Giant, through the Moon, through Cave Value, Lunar Subterrane there. I don't need King and Queen Eblen. I can probably find 2, both the Alt Gauntlet and the Officer Soldier. It's within the possibility. I would be very tempted to go up and just start face checking bosses, not even necessarily take anything beyond that, and just try and get it that way. That could be a winning strategy here, but Funnelcakes is going to head back underground and going to get this Dwarf Castle check done, so we're just going to see whose sort of routing is going to play out quickly here. I kind of tend to think that Kyrios has maybe gained a little bit of an advantage just through having a little bit better of a route.
Potentially, with our 2 runners kind of rubber banding between each other, I did want to give the obligatory shout out to hey, you should really follow these 2. Kyrios and Funnelcakes are fantastic runners. Please give them likes, love, and follows. Also, make sure you are following and giving more likes and loves to our wonderful co-commentator and our wonderful restreamer Alisol, and our wonderful tracker Fiery Blizzard. So definitely give them love. They are really heckin' good people, really heckin' smart people, and really just good. Very, very good.
I never stream. Follow Asuka instead. She's better at this.
Look, I was knocked out of this tournament so fast, most people don't even know I was in the tournament, so...
I didn't even join, so...
So we're pretty much in the same boat there.
Exactly. The last time I streamed, it was Trombone Champ. That doesn't count. Anyways, yes. Funnelcakes is in this T-Lunar fight now. We'll get through very quickly. We'll get this loaded Dwarf Castle check out of the way very soon here. Kyrios back above ground here at Fabul, about to get the good news that, hey, everything you want to check in the overworld is now available to you, because I kind of think that with the bosses laid out, we're not going to see a package check today, I don't think.
No, there's really no reason, unfortunately, just because, yeah, that there's no other way that could be anything but a single boss check. If it was, say, like, oh, I don't, if it was, say, Red Moon, where Demus did give a key item, then there is potential there if Demus was that package. But this is Blue Moon, and therefore, yeah, no, we're not sitting through that cutscene. It takes too long.
Another thing worth noting, too, is that, if we'd have found Iridia in the seed, we'd have a white mage, because she did learn Asura from this Dwarf Castle check.
And I do appreciate our wonderful restreamer Allie for putting Edward in this seed and not Iridia. I will allow the Crystal Sword for the sheer fact that we have Eddie and not Iridia.
I think this is one of the best Blue Moon seeds I've seen, just because it sort of shows off the potential of this format in its entirety with the See No Earn flag, where you've got an incredibly powerful party, but here's the one little wrinkle that's going to cause you a problem later. How do you get around it? having enough power is a way of getting around it, but you don't necessarily need to grind with these. So do you want to get to the point where you're going to be 100% safe on the Zeromus fight? That's the big question. It's all a balancing act. I'm eager to see how our runners get through balancing through that at this point.
Yeah, and Z is known to choose violence, and you might think it's a pretty straightforward fight. Z will then go, "That's nice, I'm going to high roll all of your characters." To answer your question, chat, what do you mean Tella isn't a white mage? Tella being the sage mage does have access to all the white spells. The problem is his MP pool. It's pretty much non-existent. So you only have a very limited amount that you can do with Tella. So if you have to heal multiple times, eventually Tella's gonna be like, "I don't have MP anymore." So you're kind of on your own.
Yeah, and the sort of secondary thing on top of that too is once we get into that Zeromus fight, Tella's probably not going to survive a big bang with that HP pool he has. Maybe if he gets to enough HP and you nerf the big bang, he might live. But then once you get past that, his cure spell power is not that great. He struggles to break 1k with cure 4, and that's a fight where you need a lot of that AoE healing. So it does kind of become a problem in that way for that very specific situation. He's great for the rest of the seed though.
Right. Like our tracker said, it was a very hard required earth crystal. What was interesting on Kyrios' side is Kyrios did summon the lunar whale, so there's a desire of some kind to either go to the moon and giant at some point, but Kyrios has then said, you know what, that king and queen look pretty tempting right now, so we're gonna go there.
Here's the big question mark, and just something that I don't want to say is going to happen, but I want to plant in everyone's sort of mind right now. Foreshadowing is a narrative device and all that. What if Kyrios is not tempted to check the Earth Crystal and the Twin Harp, knowing that he'll be at 3 out of 7 bosses and that moon is available to him? What if he goes to the moon and leaves that double required Zot there? It's a possibility. I'm not entirely sure how likely it is, but it is something that could happen that's worth noting that we should probably keep in the back of our mind right now.
Yeah, oh man, that is so spicy on account of, like, any check you make with the knowledge you have is the correct check. So Kyrios wouldn't be at fault for saying, "Hey, there are a lot of bosses on the moon. There are just 2 in Zot." So that's, oh gosh. That is so spicy.
There's something I like to say a lot about Seeds of Free Enterprise, and it's that there's the correct play and there's the right play. And those are 2 different things. The correct play can be playing the percentage, but the right play is going to depend on how that seed laid itself out. This this king check being CPU could have been huge. Every single boss we see from this point onward is potential go mode for Funnelcakes.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Just say, yeah, that if that barren basement has either the officers or the gauntlet, I mean, that's terrifying. Like, officers is a very free fight. You have the coffins. I know one of our runners did purchase the coffins at some point. So that's just, you take out the officer and the soldiers beat themselves up because they don't know how to do anything except take direction. Gauntlet can get a little spicy depending on where it is, because it takes enemies from a nearby area. But, I mean, it's the same thing for Funnelcakes. Like, do you want to take the opportunity to take out those easier areas on the Earth, or do you want to just say, heck it, let's go to the moon, see if we can find, preferably the free, or just the gauntlet or something, knowing that those are going to be harder hitting and longer to kill spots. So, I like this.
I want to say, unless the alt gauntlet is at like exactly the Masamune altar, it's probably doable for our runners anywhere it is on the moon. Not like 100%, 100% easy, guaranteed, you've got this for free territory, but it's doable. And that's gonna be very tempting for Kyrios, who's at 4 out of 7 bosses. It's gonna be very tempting for Funnelcakes too, is at 6 out of 7 bosses. That's kind of the thing, is we're at that point where the moon can finish the seed for either runner. I don't know. That's the big question. Does Kyrios keep checking Overworld? And we're no closer to really seeing it until we get through this Odin spot here.
Yeah, and actually thinking about it, with the Gauntlet on the moon, there are... Ooh, actually, let's see who's in the Baron Basement right now. That is a not required Sparkle. So, our bosses are playing hard to get now. With Gauntlet, though, a lot of the Gauntlet spots are weak to hourglasses. Not all of them, but a good portion of them are. So it is very much possible. Shout out to Death is trying to just tip the scales in chat by saying to check the giant, which I'm always here for. Personally, at this point, with our runners currently fading both Sealed Cave and Harp, that is exactly where I want these last 2 bosses to be, because I am a nice person-ish. That's just me.
I think Kyrios needs that to be the case right now, depending on how this goes. So for him, doesn't realize it, but is probably hoping for that. Funnelcakes, hoping to find just one boss. Here's the question: is where does he go? Does he go and check the Twin Harp, knowing he only needs one boss? Does he go and check Luca Cave, or just does he take the odds play? I gotta think the odds play is going to be the best one there in that case. So we see a Sparkle at the bottom of Cave Bahamut that Kyrios wants nothing to do with in any way, shape, or form. I don't know. There's so many big questions about what's going on right now, and now we need to see what Funnelcakes does, because if both of these other bosses are up on the moon, every check he's doing is wasting him time that Kyrios is making up on him.
I think this is why, out of like objectives versus boss hunts, this is why I love boss hunts so much, because logic is out the window. It really is, rando is now going to rando, and it's a matter of if it's going to rando in Funnelcakes' direction or Kyrios' direction. We see Funnelcakes looking like that he's going to be grinding in the near future. Kyrios is going to be doing face checks on the moon itself. But it's fascinating because, like I said, there's the right play and the correct play. They're both doing the right play right now. They're doing what they think is best. But yeah, I'm so excited to see who these bosses are going to be.
Honestly, it's seats like this that really show how sort of close in skill at the higher end of our kind of runner skill pool everyone is at this point in time. Both of these runners, it may be a 2-boss advantage for Funnelcakes right now. This is still either runner's game entirely. If both of these bosses are on the moon, Funnelcakes is not entirely wasting time, because the grind is going to make you up time on the backside of it. But Kyrios could sort of swing this back, and then it's just a matter of when does he go up Zot. And I gotta think that Zot is probably the most tempting thing left on the blue planet for Kyrios, because that's the only thing left with 2 bosses that he hasn't seen.
Yeah, and Kyrios, it's, I don't want to say unfortunate, but it's just the seed playing out as it did. I don't see Kyrios leaving the moon until he has face checked every single one of these bosses. So if he checks everything and finds both bosses on the moon and then leaves, knowing that Earth Crystal had 2 bosses right then and there, I don't know if it would have been a time saver to just find one boss and then go elsewhere, which Funnelcakes has potential to do, because Funnelcakes already done Earth Crystal. It's just, I don't know, it's just, yeah, I like boss hunts, they're fun.
They do lead to these moments where we're sitting here 55 minutes in and we don't have a clear, we have a clear lead, but we will not know for a very long while. Kyrios checking these bosses is going to matter a lot in this particular case. White Spear altar here. We'll see what this is. One thing worth noting too, that's a Leviathan. That doesn't matter to us. There are only 2 key items left in the pool for Kyrios that gate bosses at this point in time. The package and the tower key. I gotta think that he doesn't care about key items at this point, aside from, getting 1 would be swell so
What?
that he can have 10.
Hear me out. What if those bosses are behind the tower key in the package?
I would love that, but Kyrios would be absolutely and
Kyrios would hate
100% within, a good strategy to not care about those bosses at this point.
This is going to be a major moment of truth to see who's at the Ogo spot or the Masamun altar.
Yeah, this aside from the giant.
Is that delay? That's a delay! Yes! We've got a gauntlet at Ogo!
We have a gauntlet at Ogo, but what does that mean, really? Because both of our runners are going to have a rough time. It is slow. Kyrios not at 10 key items, Funnelcakes not at 10 key items. This is not going to be a real huge benefit to them. It'll be nice, but it will definitely take care of levels, but it could be better. But Funnelcakes just needs to get through this gauntlet to be able to go to that Zeromus, and he's going to be able to walk there. He's already there at this point in time. Kyrios still needs to go back and find those 2 bosses. This is huge for Funnelcakes right now.
And here's the thing, I'll take it a step further. There is 1 boss spot on the moon that I do not believe Kyrios checked. The Crystal Sword altar.
What if Officer Soldier is a Crystal Sword altar, is what you're saying? Yes.
Exactly. This just, oh man, this got really interesting really fast. And Crystal Sword, it's one of those altars that it's technically on the way to the bottom 3, but it's off in its own little timeout zone. So some people will just go to the save point by Plague, D-Lunar, and Ogo spots and not just take the save by Wyvern spots. So I'm curious to see if Funnel's gonna go that route too, but oh man. Also, evil masks are mean. They like to cast white on the party and it hurts a heckin' lot.
Evil masks are indeed awful, and I think my favorite part is evil masks are awful, and they're like the 3rd worst thing in this gauntlet.
Right?
Oh, if Funnelcakes goes and checks that Crystal Sword altar and it ends up being Officer Soldier, it will be one of those moments where I will feel bad for Kyrios not checking it at this point, but also it'll be like that moment in, the classic animated version of How the Grinch Stole Christmas, where he puts on that devilish smile as he realizes that he can steal it. That will be me if that happens in this case, and I'll fully admit that. I'm not hoping for it, because it would be very unfortunate for Kyrios, and I want the best for both our runners, but it would be really, really interesting.
And on the flip side with Kyrios, Funnelcakes did do a grind. This technically kind of is Kyrios' grind. I mean, he doesn't need to, probably won't have to do eggs with 2200 HP on Kane, 24 on Cecil, Edge gonna break 2000. I mean, you have more than enough HP to deal with Z if you're willing to do the beloved Zerka nerf. So it's, oh no, Edge is sleeping. Never mind. This is also getting really kind of scary because it is a double red dragon.
The good news about double red dragon is they don't do their scariest thing until they're alone. So as long as the damage evens itself out, this is fine. Berserk Cecil could just choose to just slice down one of these dragons before the other one, and the other one just really starts making your life painful on Kyrios' side. So it's very interesting here to see what we're going to have. This is all in RNG's hands at this point.
Definitely a case of RNG, just take the wheel. Let's see, where is Funnelcakes? Where are you going? Are you going to be... Oh, nope. So Funnelcakes did go to the route of the Plague. Ribbon Room, Words, whatever Plague has, White Spear, and no. Plague, D-Lunars, and see, this is why I'm not good at Free Enterprise. I don't know what weapons are here. I just know the bosses. It's good enough. So yeah, Funnelcakes will very likely be finding that gauntlet in the very near future.
Definitely Kyrios through getting the pity pink tail in this case, which we will not see the results of in this seed. I can pretty much guarantee you, not going to happen. Is going to go back and save, so we will have that. Oh, right, he's at 5 bosses. For some reason, I was getting my wires crossed there. So yeah, if you're Kyrios, you've only found 1 boss in your entire moon play at this point in time. What do? I gotta think, head back down to the blue planet, check that Tower of Zot's gonna be high on the priority list. There's your Crystal Sword play right here. That might still play into it.
And
Kyrios is gonna be in go mode
right
pretty
now. So yeah, it's if oh man. Yeah, if this is an officer soldier, the biggest thing that Kyrios needs to not do is check the giant. Go back down, check your Earth objectives, and go from there. Meanwhile, Funnelcakes is like,
yeah, that tower is going to be more appealing than the giant. It's gotta be at this point.
Yeah, I mean, with well, here's what's kind of interesting, and this is very much a Blue Moon situation, because you can get bosses like the Officer Soldier, you can get bosses like Bahamut. Those are in like they're in the 65k spot. Those are free. Those are very simple fights to do. Aw, man. So no Officer Soldier there, but 65k, unless you are explicitly the Magus Sisters right now, not that scary. A Bahamut into Officer Soldier Giant does not scare either runner. So that could be an odds play right there of going to the Giant, hoping that there might be one of those free fights on 65k, get like 200,000 XP, and then you're good for the rest of your life. Granted, mid 40s, upper 40s, you're like 10 levels past being Z ready.
Definitely. So, this next play is pivotal. Pivotal. Well. Pivotable. It's very pivotable.
Today's race is sponsored by the word pivotable.
Exactly. To answer a question from chat really quickly, yeah, Kyrios is not very far behind, but these runners are incredibly close in skill level. Even a minute's difference can be a huge difference in these races right now. It is a little bit Funnelcakes race to lose. Where is he going? I think he's going to trade out airships. I think he's going over to check tower, possibly, or head back underground. One or the other. He might be tempted to those famous bosses.
This is going to be the play. Ooh. Ooh. Oh no.
I love seeing a music check, but not like this.
This has to be exactly Officer Soldiers right now. And this is coming from someone that is always team check harp. This has to be exactly Officer Soldiers. Otherwise, this is Funnelcakes' race to lose.
Absolutely. I am excited for this because the heart check is still my favorite Easter egg in the entire game. I love it to death every single time it pops up, and any chance to listen to it is. But this might also be the heart music that plays us into Game 3 for this series, and it's going to be hard to see. Funnelcakes is on the last wave of the Gauntlet right now, while Kyrios is walking down Cave Magnus.
And yeah, this, it looks like it's in pretty good shape right now with, well, Sid's gone. I mean, this gauntlet, it can be kind of a spooky gauntlet, even with a Berserk Crystal Sword Cecil. Depending on, oh geez, depending on if the red dragons start high rolling. Oh no. About that spooky gauntlet fight.
You know, this could have happened to any runner in this case. Mm-hmm. It's worth noting that this is just the dangers of having this really brutally difficult gauntlet, arguably the most difficult gauntlet in the game. This puts Kyrios back in it, but it is music time, so let's let it play out here.
No. Oh. So, do you remember when I said harp had to be exactly officer soldier?
The moon is haunted today.
Oh wow, it's an adventure too. We're back to racing, y'all. Oh my.
First of all, I want to give a quick shout out to that harp music and a quick
Right?
shout out to Xenocat for all of her amazing work in sequencing harp music, because that was wonderful as always. But secondly, what?
Yeah, that wow. So, and with the route Kyrios, oh my gosh, Kyrios is gonna get the first boss, and then Kyrios is gonna be right where the pass is. Heck.
Funnelcakes needs to get through this alt gauntlet this time. And then we might have dueling Z fights, but I think Kyrios might be getting into the Zeromus fight faster at this point.
Yeah, with these levels and Vanilla Mega Sisters, that is a very quick fight. I think it's quicker to, actually, is it quicker to walk back down or is it quicker to take the second fight?
Probably quicker to walk back down, because if you take the second fight, you have the cutscene, the sleep, the airship flight back to Troya. If it weren't for the airship flight back to Troya, it might be quicker.
Yeah, that makes sense. But yeah, you cannot. I don't think you can warp. Just don't see many people doing it, but I'm also not good, so I leave that to the smart people. Dissatisfied in chat does say that the warp does work. But yeah, so this actually pretty much says that that really the worst gauntlet, not needed. Thank you for showing us the wonderful, fantastic oof gauntlet, but you didn't have to. So, to the harp cartel in attendance, we have been proven right once more. So GG's to the harp faithful in chat.
Kyrios has the crystal in hand. Funnelcakes on this last set of red dragons once again. In a bit better shape than last time, has been taking a little bit slower through the alt gauntlet this time around, just playing it extra safe. So he should be through, but at this point in time, I gotta say, I'm pretty sure Kyrios is in the lead. This Zeromus fight means absolutely everything at this point.
It's one of those, yeah, these two runners they are in the finals of Bloom and Waxing for a reason. But as said before, any fight can go spooky and haywire at any point in time. Saw with Funnelcakes. Z can just choose violence and say, no, you don't get to beat me this time. So it's It's not over, folks. It absolutely is not over. And also, I'm curious if how much of a difference it made, because Kyrios had Tella alive during the Red Dragon fight, or the double Red Dragon fight, and I know a cure of some kind was cast by Kyrios' Tella. Funnelcakes on the other side, Tella is down. I'm not sure how much of a difference that made. Maybe?
A little bit, and that sort of ties back to what do you do when you don't have white mages? Because if there is one thing that white mages can bring, it's stability. You pretty much can guarantee you get through a fight as long as you can heal through it no matter what. When you take that away, it becomes scarier, and we're starting to see some flags in the chat here as Kyrios on the way up to this fight.
Yeah, there is some admin magic by the wonderful Scala Kitty. People like asking questions during this part, and I like going against the grain. So there's like 1,000 questions that people ask for like the 10,000 different sprites that Scala's put together. But I like just to sum it up with 3 simple words. Something, something, but.
Absolutely, although I would argue that he constitutes a 4th word at this point in time, and we would like to get your correction for that.
He's added as like a comma.
This is many questions, you know, whose butt are we gonna kick? Can it help with the taxes? Is a he a comma? Things like that will be answered through the rest of the stream at this point in time.
I'm not sure if I can go he being a comma, because going back on my own thing, but I can definitely say that the Oxford comma is the way to go, and I will fight anyone that says otherwise. Meanwhile, Z, let's see what magic we have today. Oh hey! I know that guy!
I love this sprite. It's cool sprite. Wonderful.
I hate myself right now because I have Cecilia stuck in my head. Except singing Cecilia, you're breaking.
Well, one thing worth noting, Funnelcakes on the way into this fight, we are going to have dueling Z sprites dueling Z fights and dueling Z sprites at this point in time going in. The counter nuke over on Kyrios' side will land on Edge, sort of putting him into danger territory for this first big bang. I don't believe we've seen Silk Webs to slow down, but I don't think it really matters with this particular setup. The big question is, how quickly can Kyrios get this damage out, and how stable will it be? If something goes wrong, that could be an advantage to Funnelcakes. There is room for Funnelcakes to make up this time in the fight if something goes just wrong enough on Kyrios' side. So this is still everything to play for.
And I'll jump in really quickly. This sprite, according to the wonderful Scala Kitty, is from Brave Exvius. But yeah, no, it's one of those, looking at those HP totals, and I mean, even an unnerfed Big Bang is gonna be fine. But yeah, it pretty much Zeke, again, can just say, you know what? I'm gonna wombo combo you Big Bang into Medio because I can. But yeah, any wrong move it's gonna tip this one way or another.
Absolutely. We've passed the first big bang now over on Kyrios' side. Things looking fairly stable. Tella's still alive. Very important. That will help sort of ease up the burden of possibly throwing those Cure 3 potions. Can just throw a Cure 4 out instead. Should make us good for the next big bang. Meanwhile, Funnelcakes now getting into this fight a little bit behind, but it's still not entirely out of his grasp to take it. We just got to see how quickly do you get through at this point in time. Another thing worth noting too, every turn that we're spending healing is time that if we have enough damage, we could be skipping as well. So little things like that going to come into play here.
Yeah, and we do see a shake on Kyrios' side. It doesn't look like he'll be trying to nerf it. He might just either ride through it or think he will be able to do the fake or get the fake shake and move on to the next phase. Possibly we'll see. Though 3,000 HP, Cecil can survive that big bang without too much issue. And ooh, nice. Actually, nice use of the Thor Rage on both Funnelcakes and Kyrios for using those to nerf these big bangs. Not necessarily who I'd want to see get hit with a counter nuke. As long as this is nerfed, Cecil will still be fine. Cecil is still fine. so Cecil can do Crystal Sword Cecil things some more.
Absolutely. Meanwhile, over on Funnelcake side, we are through that first Big Bang as well. We have 4 live dire
We
rocks
have
over on
rocks.
Kyrios' side.
13 HP is more than what you need. Well,
That 13 HP might be all that was necessary here as we're seeing it last swing. Yep, Kyrios is your winner of the Blue Moon Waxing side of Zemus Zone 5, 2-0 over Funnelcakes with a time of 1:17:08. GG's to him. We'll see if he wants to come in for an interview, but very well run race by both our runners here.
And yeah, you can see on Funnelcake's side, Funnelcakes is in smooth sailing mode. We're seeing that shake, but none of his characters are in any worry of. I mean, Z can full Big Bang them, and yeah, they'll be fine. Yeah, I really like those Thor Rages, nerfing the Big Bang. I don't know. I like nerf strats personally, so seeing our runners do that makes me so happy.
You know, there's a lot of seeds in this Blue Moon tournament where we've just seen the Berserk everyone up and have Roses sit on our turn for Tier 4 strat, and it's nothing wrong with that, but it is nice seeing a change of pace every now and again.
Yes.
And this was definitely a change of pace for both of our runners, both putting in an excellent job throughout the entire seed. Unfortunately, just little things making the difference all the way throughout. And really, that Officer Soldier being exactly where it was made a huge difference.
Oh yeah, I mean, with how close this is, clearly, yeah, that Officer Soldier is anywhere else, and this is Funnelcakes' race, without question. And it should be getting pretty close to beating Z, and I'm just gonna be quiet because that flash, crackle, pop is, that means time's up, and Funnelcakes has finished the race at the time of 1 hour, 18 minutes, 42 seconds. Get your GGs out for both of our amazing runners who just happened to join us in this restream booth. Hello, friends. GGs.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you,
GG Funnel.
GG's to you as well, Kyrios.
So, we gotta start with that gauntlet. We appreciate you showing it to us, even though it was not required. That was the turning point. What are your thoughts on that?
It hurts a little bit knowing that I was ahead through Gauntlet 1, and then I was probably 2 hits on each of them, maybe, and then we got bopped real hard.
Yeah, I mean, there's not much more to say. That was probably the best white shirt I've ever had in a seed, and apparently it was just enough to keep Cecil alive.
And for Kyrios specifically, did you happen to be told or find out what boss was waiting for you in Zot 2?
Oh, yes. Yes. We both realized pretty quickly that we had missed a much easier way to get out of this seed. Although, what are the odds that in a finals race we'd have 2 seeds and we wouldn't match up on the 7 bosses for both of them? So I suppose that's good for the viewers.
With identical character starts.
Yeah.
It was really fascinating watching the two of you kind of weave in and out of your routes. Obviously, it was pretty much similar routing until the very end, where Funnel, you went to the Earth Crystal pretty early, and Kyrios, you went to the Moon and then came back to Earth. So it was so cool seeing all of that happen and be less than 2 minutes away from each other in the very end. It shows the incredible, like, super awesome high caliber of both of you. So that was really fun to watch. Don't mind me fangirling right now. And do you have questions?
I sure do. One sort of big difference in between the sort of 2 different ways you went was the timing in which you went to the moon. So sort of starting over with Funnelcakes, what led to you sort of putting that moon off for as long as you did? Just sort of relatively speaking here.
I mean, I knew the Baron Key had at least 1 boss, and when I did Golbez right away and got the pan, I'm like, I'm still had Fabul on the table, so I'm gonna turn the pan in and follow it completely, and then come back underground. And so it was kind of a feeling of just trying to route in a way that I felt kind of fit everything together, and so I just kind of wanted to see where if I could find a Baron key and anything like that.
Absolutely. And then on the other side of that, Kyrios, you went to the moon much, much sooner in the seed. What led to you making that decision for your way through that at that point in time?
We had the pass, so at that point, get through the Baron Key, sitting on a place where we're looking for 3 more bosses, so the moon probably doesn't have all of it, but the 6 checks on the lunar side of the moon, ignoring the giant, which I think would have been kind of crazy at that point. But those 6 checks are probably the fastest way to get the next 6 checks. And with the pass, the penalty for having to come back to the Earth isn't really there. So it kind of makes sense. I think the Earth Crystal Twin Heart package also makes a lot of sense to do first, because again, it's 3 checks in a pretty similar time frame per check. So I don't think necessarily one's better than the other. And I think that's reflective in the fact that we both came out to pretty similar timing. Now, one was better than the other here. We just didn't know it.
Absolutely. I mean, that was an incredibly close race. We honestly, for about half an hour of that race, had no clue how it was going to turn out. And even once we were getting to those Z fights, you weren't entirely certain. That was one of the closest races I've seen all tournament. So again, GG's to both of you on putting that on. Next question I have for you, Kyrios, is, this is obviously you've now won the waxing bracket and like that. How do you feel at the moment knowing that?
I don't have to do a boss hunt until I want to do another boss hunt. No, it feels great. It's been a great level of competition, and because of the way the bracket's sorted out, it's largely been people that I've been familiar with, either through previous Pink Puffs or other club events or other things. And like I said, prior to the finals, Funnel was one of the people that I was least familiar with because he did this past Pink Puff season, and now I've got a pretty good idea of exactly how good a runner he is too. So it's been a great experience, and everyone involved has been fun to play against, fun to talk about the seeds with. It's, yeah, super happy.
Absolutely. And then over on your side, Funnel, I mean, this does mean that you still have a chance down in the Blue Moon waning bracket, where every single person you have beaten so far this tournament is still alive in that bracket at the moment, by the way. So they're all going to be sort of gunning for that revenge at this point in time. Are you looking forward to, getting a second shot at taking home one of our 4 championships for this tournament?
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad this isn't the end. I'm glad I still have my second shot. And as for who I'd want to play, I want to play someone who's ready to go. I want another finals of this caliber. I want all the races to be close, even if it's, if they don't come out to my way. It hurts to lose, by such close margin.